In the early 1950s, the United States of America, supporting the decolonization of Egypt and wanting to avoid confrontation with rising Egyptian nationalism, encouraged Britain to negotiate with Egypt over the Suez Canal. The United States had no direct military or administrative role in the Suez Canal, but they remained engaged in monitoring regional developments due to the Cold War concerns. At the same time, Britain reluctantly agreed to the phased withdrawal of its troops from the canal in an agreement with Egypt due to strong Egyptian pressure and economic constraints. Both were going to be out of the Suez Canal. Israel feared that the vacuum left by their departure would embolden Egypt's growing nationalism, leaving them vulnerable. Israel, concerned about Egypt's growing strength, resorted to developing a false flag operation. They devised a plan to commit acts of terrorism in Egypt, with the perpetrators posing as Egyptian nationalists, creating an atmosphere in which those opposed to the policies enforcing the withdrawal of the Suez Canal would have an advantage and be able to block the withdrawal. In 1954, Colonel Benjamin Ghibli, chief of the military intelligence body of the Israeli Defense Forces, initiated Operation Susanna to influence the policies of Britain and the United States, delaying their withdrawals and undermining their confidence in Egypt's stability. While Colonel Ghibli formally initiated the operation, it likely had broader support within Israel's defense establishment. Several Egyptian Jews, some of whom were previously active in helping Jews flee to Israel from Egypt and others having experience in Zionist underground activities, were recruited and trained for the covert operation. On the 2nd of July, bombs were detonated at a post office in Alexandria. On the 14th of July, they bombed the libraries of the United States Information Agency in Alexandria and Cairo. On July 23rd, the Rio Cinema in Cairo. No injuries or deaths occurred, and the buildings attacked suffered minimal damage on account of the bomb's small size and poorly executed detonations. The idea was to create panic rather than mass harm. Israeli agent Avraham Seidenberg, also known as Avri Alad, is suspected by some sources of informing Egyptian intelligence about the Rio theater bombing. It is not known why Alad may have informed the Egyptians. Particular sources believe that he may have been a double agent. Others state that he may have been motivated by personal gain or pressure from Egyptian intelligence. Regardless, many sources, including many Israeli officials, claim Alad is an informant due to inconsistencies in his actions and reports. Egyptian authorities arrested the suspect, Robert Dassa, when his bomb ignited prematurely in his pocket. After searching his apartment, the Egyptian intelligence agency found incriminating evidence and the names of others involved in the operation. 11 Egyptian Jews trained by Israeli intelligence were arrested. One suspect killed himself while in prison. 2 of the accused, Shmuel Azar and Masha Marzuk, were hanged. 2 were acquitted, and the rest received prison sentences of varying lengths. Alad and Avraham Dar, a colonel under the alias of John Darling, managed to escape capture entirely by leaving Egypt before they were arrested. The Israeli government claimed the mission was carried out without the knowledge of any high-ranking officials. The operatives were acting independently, they stated. Defense Minister Pinhas Lavon, the scapegoat who the Lavon affair gets its name from, was blamed in 1954 through 1955 by factions within the defense establishment and the Mapai Party, a labor Zionist and democratic socialist political party, for personally ordering the operation. Lavon argued that he had no role in the decision-making process and was even unaware of the operation until it was set in motion. It was later revealed that senior intelligence officials acted independently without his approval. Lavon was formally cleared in 1960 following an official Israeli inquiry, but disputes over his involvement persisted on account of political rivalries within Israel. There was a narrative pushed by some Israeli officials, especially those in the defense establishment, that claimed that these acts of terrorism were those of rogue agents of Israel. When more information about the planning and execution of the operation came to light, the more the rogue agent narrative wasn't very plausible. The key revelations about the Lavon affair came throughout the 1950s and 60s, particularly those prompted by the forged document scandal involving Essek Bish and the Olshan Dori Committee. By the 1960s, it was well established that high-ranking officers coordinated the operation. Furthermore, it was later proven that the military intelligence branch known as Amman was handling the planning and execution of the operation. This finding debunked the claim that low-level officers and mavericks acted independently as false. The rogue agent narrative was an attempt to deflect responsibility from Israeli leadership. Israel had denied any high-level involvement in the operation for 50 years. Investigations had already established Amman's role. The numerous internal inquiries and leaks made high-level involvement widely suspected. The affair was well known throughout Israel. In 2005, the President of Israel honored the surviving terrorists, presenting them with military commendations, certificates of appreciation, for their efforts.